Hello Wanderers, my name is Stray and today we're taking a little diversion from our regular introduction to make a few announcements for the channel. The first one being that we now have an official Discord dedicated to the community here. I've spent the last couple of weeks along with a helpful friend of mine setting everything up and it is now live. You can find the link to it in the description below this video and others. I will do my best to be as active in there as possible and hopefully it will turn into a fun place to discuss the various things going on in the channel and gaming in general. Be sure to follow the Discord rules and most importantly, have fun. The second announcement is that we are also now officially launching a Patreon where anyone who is interested can support the channel and receive some fun benefits in return. This includes getting your name on the credit screen, the ability to vote for various decisions made in the series, having characters added into those series, and higher tiers can even receive a custom hand-drawn coat of arms drawn by yours truly. There is, of course, no obligation to join the Patreon, and I greatly appreciate everyone who watches, likes, and comments on these videos, as that is the biggest part of what keeps me making them. Links to the Patreon are in the description along with the Discord. In any case, that's enough rambling from me. Enjoy today's episode, it is certainly an exciting one. Hello Wanderers, welcome back to our Crusader Kings 3 roleplay series following Clan Stjarna. And as we come into this episode, we find ourselves in a much expanded Bjarma land. As you can see, the lands of Karelia have fallen within our grasp, and we have finally temporarily had some settlement with the Vepsians to the south. So where does that leave things in this episode? Well, there are a few changes, and some of you I think will appreciate these. Let us start with the probably most important one, is that you will see that we have Chieftain Vasilko of House Vasili as one of our subjects now. I had to go into the console commands just to mess around with this a little bit to get this to work, but basically I've made Vasilko have a cadet branch. And this was so that we can still kind of track him back to the Rurik dynasty, even though he has yet to discover the secret of his heritage. No doubt that he will at some point, but for the moment, he probably thinks that he is the son of one of our warriors. Some of you kind folks did point out that Rurek's son is not a bug, but in fact just a different version of Rurik's name. So that makes sense from a game perspective, but in terms of the story, I think we'll still go with the idea that he may believe himself to be the son of our former warrior Rurik, just to make things kind of pan out story-wise. So that's what we've done to set that up, and we have given him a little piece of land here. So hopefully we will not see the end of his dynasty here. But you'll see that he is married, and I think you guys will appreciate this as well. He is married to the daughter of Chieftain Grettir. So we will also not see an end to that line. Grettir does still have some family ruling in Vladimir and Moskva. But we arranged to have Vasilko marry his daughter. So that should be a pretty interesting dynasty. The dynasty lines of our two greatest enemies bonded together here. That should add some interesting flavor for the game later on. The other small change is that we have also granted Chieftain Magnus a second chance. Some of you guys did point out that Magnus was put into a bit of a difficult position, having to kind of manage the Vepsians here. Not really an excuse, but we are willing to give him another chance. So we've put him here on the northern border. Perhaps he can give us a reason to trust him once again. He is just a young man, just 19 years of age, but he will have to show that he is as much of a match for his father as he claims to be. So those are the two major changes there. And before we jump into the episode and what's going to happen here, I do just want to address some things that have been coming up in the comments quite a bit, and that concerns the religion. And as many of you guys have pointed out, it would be very cool to reform the religion here and kind of adopt some of the Ukonusko traditions and religious practices and things like that. And I definitely agree with you guys. However, practically speaking, I don't know if that's going to be possible. Definitely not within Styrkar's lifetime. And you can probably guess why. And it's just because of our, number one, our positioning on the map. We have to get at least 3 holy sites. So the closest ones are here in Uppsala, in Ranaheim, and then potentially here in Konungarder. Those are pretty far away. Now, yeah, we could probably go and do like attacks to take those specific counties, like take the one county from Sweden, take the one county here, go all the way down here. It just seems really impractical, and it would just be very odd. That, I mean, it's just part of the game of how you have to control those holy sites to reform the religion. So I don't know if it's definitely not going to be within Styrkar's lifetime, unfortunately, even though that would be really cool. Not to mention he is 53, so he's getting a little bit old. Beyond that, we can't even like declare the wars that we need. We could do a conquer a duchy, but we can only get Yedisan here. We can't even attack Sweden because we currently have an alliance with them. And then these guys over here, probably we could take that county, but it's not really practical right now. What I could see, and this might be something that I could see in the future, is that if some of our descendants were to switch over to Ukonusko, then it would be much easier to reform that religion based on our geography, because we have the 3 holy sites pretty close here. We already control one. We're close to controlling one anyways. One of them's just up north here, and the other one is here in Saaremaa. And that would be that'd be a lot more feasible. I could see that happening. And I know probably some people here really like the Norse culture, and the religion and stuff is probably pretty interesting. Probably what drew some of the folks here to this series. But if we were going to do something like that, where we switch to Ukonusko and reform it, I think we would play it off the same way that we would do it with reforming the Asatru faith, is that we're not taking one or the other, we're combining both of them. So we would take things from the Asatru faith, and, you know, if we could get, I'm not sure if you can get patron gods if you switch over, but taking some of these things and combining them into the Ukonusko faith we'd create a blend of these religions. And that's something that I think happened historically a lot of the time, especially, even with Christianity, incorporating stories and elements from the various pagan religions they encountered with, in order to kind of keep the people of those lands a little bit more willing to accept those religions. So I could see us creating a blend of Ukonusko and Asatru by switching over to Ukonusko, and then getting these holy sites, because this is the area that we're probably going to kind of stick around and expand for the most part. And it just seems odd to like take one county here, one county here, one county down there, just specifically for the game, rules in order to reform their religion. So either way, it's not something that's going to probably be happening within Styrkar's lifetime. So we've got a little bit of time. It is something I definitely want to look at. So let me know what you guys think of that idea and, what kind of things we could incorporate in order to kind of create this blend of Asatru and Ukonusko religions. So that's all I really wanted to go over before we start the time here. And we're going to start it and kind of consider what our options for this episode are. Well, we do have a little elephant in the room, or should I say a bear in the room, and that is King Helgi the Seer. He's been sticking around here a little too long, and he is the son of our greatest enemy, as is Vasilko, but Vasilko's a special case. King Helgi, he does need to be dealt with, so we will be dealing with him this episode, rest assured. But first, our son, Frothy, hovers in the limbo between childhood and adulthood. We have taught him enough to understand the truth, and he is still young enough to have an open mind. If I want to induct him into the service of Freya, it is now or never. Well, let us give him a chance. Well, 100% chance. He has become another seer, a practicer of the satyr like us, and now there are two. As you can see, we have Styrbjorn and Frothy here. Somebody did point out the nice alliteration in Styrbjorn's name. Styrbjorn, Styrkar's son Stjarna. It is a pretty cool name. Rolls off the tongue. So I do appreciate that little bit of alliteration there. Kind of came out just by accident though. Took Eirikr out playing with a bow, and to my surprise he ran into a wounded doe. He had not hesitated in the slightest to bring it down. Yes, we want our sons to be ambitious. This would be a lot different than if you were to be playing like a normal game, because you'd expect to be taking over your eldest son, and then you wouldn't want to have ambitious brothers because they're probably going to try to rebel against you. But Styrkar, he wants his sons to be ambitious. He wants them to reach for great things. So that's what he's going to encourage them to do. We're not going to send troops into Sweden. They've got this under control, honestly. It's not a big concern to us. Like I said, what is a concern is Helgi. Now, we do have a few options. We could try to murder him. Pretty good chance there. But that might be too easy. I think what we want to do is potentially go on a raid. We do have potentially enough troops to go in and raid him. He has a few more than us, but I think that we might be able to go on a pretty good raid against him. So let us see if we can increase. Yeah, we can increase some of our units here, and then we should be able to match him. So let's see here. Let's get some more Varangian veterans. It's going to cost us a bit of our prestige gain, but we should be able to manage that with the raiding. "Paw," cries Frothy, tugging at my sleeve almost as soon as I enter the snowbound courtyard. "It's no good. I'm useless. I can't skate. The ice hates me." Speedy glance suggests that he might be right. The place looks like an army's marched through it with the amount of shattered ice my son has left in his wake. Don't we have maids for you to pester? Go play indoors, you'll catch a cold. No, I think we will. I think we have more important things to deal with. He can ask one of the champions to teach him. We've got far more important things to deal with here. So yeah, let's just get our troops up, and then I think we're gonna go on a big raid against Novgorod here. And that will just be to, I don't know, if we could capture Helgi, that would be ideal. Then we could do some interesting things there. But either way, going on a raid before we end him will, I think, be the much more vengeful way of dealing with our enemy. Let's see. Oh yeah, we're pretty close. We'll just speed up time a little bit. We'll get those troops up and then we'll go on this raid here. All right, so we have raised our raiders and we are preparing to lay siege to Novgorod. We will gather up our forces here. We will take charge. We will be bringing, of course, all of our greatest champions and soldiers to face down the Novgorodians, because this could end up being hard fought. But we shall do our best to take it to their lands. Now our son Frothy has grown into a brilliant commander, which is pretty good. I don't think, I wonder if he should hopefully be in the army. He might not be because he just became of age. And his marriage proposal to the daughter of the King of Denmark shall go through. I was retiring for the night when I saw a most alarming sight on your bed, a single dagger coated in blood. An investigation did not turn up any information as to who put it there and why. A few of my courtiers and guards suggest it may have been a prank. And it seems that we have deduced that it was not even blood, it's just colored water. Very interesting, but who would do such a thing to the king? Today I was given my grave news. Frothy has fallen ill with pneumonia. We will leave the choice up to our son, I suppose. Hopefully he will pull through. Pneumonia, that is no small thing. Hopefully he will survive. Oh, and looks like Novgorod's leading a raid themselves, so let's see if they turn around to try to defend their land, or if we will be able to take the Novgorodian fortress unawares here. It looks like we may be able to. Indeed, we have, and look at that. Fire and blood. The settlement of Novgorod, an important stronghold in the land, has fallen to my raiders. We have the run of it, many quivering subjects and shining treasures to choose from. The troops stand ready and awaiting my command to give them direction. Bring me bounteous plunder. We will sack Novgorod and we will raise his capital to the ground. And as we do so, we have captured many of the Novgorodians, including some probably fairly important ones, some who have known Helgi well. And I suspect that they may have some interesting information regarding their king. My gods have brought me one of the prisoners we captured in the raid on Novgorod, one of Helgi's most important champions. While questioning him, the man seemed to recognize me, claiming he knew my father and fought alongside him and Rurik many years ago. Intrigued, I pushed further, and under my subtle pressure the prisoner proved forthcoming, and the information he gave me left me reeling. He told me that it was not Rurik who was to blame for my father's death and my clan's exile, but Helgi. He said Helgi was jealous of my father's influence over Rurik, and that our clan was a threat to their own that had to be ended, so he plotted to convince Rurik of his friend's betrayal. That was why my father was killed, why my family was driven out. It was Helgi all along. By Odin, by Ukko, I will see that man pay for what he has done. So, as you have seen, we have learned something very, very interesting. It was not Rurik, after all, who was responsible for our father's death. As you will remember, our father and Rurik were once friends, allies, and as close as brothers in some ways, and yet Rurik still had our father executed. And we blamed him for that, and yet, as it turned out, all of this was Helgi's idea. Helgi, the man who saw our father as a threat to his future authority, perhaps, who would not have our family, Clan Stjarna, in such a prominent position. It was Helgi who plotted to put all of this in place, so that plotted to have our father seem like he betrayed his friend. It was all Helgi. That is grave news. And as Styrkar lays waste to Novgorod, anger in his blood, he considers what shall be done with Helgi. Well, death, of course, would be the best option, but we want to do it ourselves, so we're going to try to do a abduct scheme against Helgi. Let's return our troops and let us see what we can do to ensure that this will be successful. We could convince some of his guests to join us. Will they be useful in this? That's the question. Probably. Very well, we shall bribe you. What about you? Yeah, you could be useful as well. Let's bribe you as well. There we go. And we will have our spy master, Andre, support our schemes. Let us bring Helgi in chains for what he has done. The betrayal of our father, the betrayal of his own father as well. Dark times indeed. Luckily, our son has survived pneumonia. Ire be praised. But we have more important things to consider. A cynical bent. Upon returning from a successful raid, every good Nordvinman knows to sacrifice a little of their gains to the gods. Every good Nordvina except Chieftain Karuchi, that is, as the rest of us divide the spoils, boasting of our best pieces and discussing what we'll give in thanks for good fortune and fair winds. I notice that he remains silent. Upon confronting the man, he even admits it. I saw no hand of the gods in our raid, my king, only my own hands doing my own work. My share is for me. Karuchi, you near blasphemy. Well, I think we will. Looks like we're undoubtedly going to fail this, but we will call him out for his blasphemy, because that does need to go to the gods, but he makes us look like a fool. Apparently, some of the other Bjarmians and Finnish and Vepsian troops were not as strong in their religious beliefs as we are. Let's disband our troops here. Now that we've brought everything back, we can raise a runestone as well. So let us raise a runestone to that, the great sacking of Novgorod, and as well to our vanquished foe, Tomas. And let's place it in Kolmogorri. There we go. And that does give us the Exalted Among Men prestige level. So that means that we can actually we can found the great capital. We just need a little bit more money, which we should be able to get reasonably soon. We'd make a little bit of money each turn, so. Oh dear. Our wife has drawn her last breath. That is, I mean, this says whatever it says, but I think that this is a bit of a sad moment for Styrkar. He may not have loved his wife, but I think they grew comfortable together. They learned to live with each other and to raise their sons. And she was probably a steadying influence on him, a bridge between Styrkar and the Finnish people of these lands. So that is sad. We shall mourn our wife. Wow. We won't be taking another spouse right away, but perhaps if Aurea does come around, perhaps we shall take her as our wife. We shall see. She still hates us. And I think that Styrkar wouldn't take her as his wife unless the situation regarding that were to change. So, yeah, we will wait and see how that pans out. We do have our scheme currently acting against Helgi. Good chances there, very good chances. We can convince one more person here as well. Let's do so. Well, I mean, we're spending a bunch of our money that we want to use for that decision there, but we can make two. We could probably speed that up by raising some raiders and going on a little bit of a raid, perhaps up north here. Yeah, we could get some money there. We won't be leading this raid ourselves. We will perhaps send... perhaps we'll put Frothy in charge of this raid. That should give him a chance to test his chops as a commander, as a leader. Let us see how well Frothy does in conquering other lands and taking their spoils for us. Oh, Aurea is coming around to us, so for those of you who favored that outcome, she may indeed come to have some affection for Styrkar. Alright, we've got a little bit of money from that. Is there anywhere else viable to raid? Can do another raid up here in this land whose name I certainly cannot pronounce. We got called into another war. We could send our troops down there now. They're on their way anyways, so we could go and join them. We'll do this raid and then we'll go and send our troops down that way. My agents tell me that King Helgi is planning to travel from Novgorod to Luki. I have arranged for some brigands to interrupt his journey and make sure he arrives here instead. Yes, let us do so. 85% chance. Success. The brigands did their job admirably, and Helgi is safely in our hands. Well, we should probably deal with that then, shouldn't we? Helgi, it was you all along. You betrayed our father, made Rurik think that he was an enemy when he was not. This explains it all. There is no punishment that would be too cruel for you. We shall make sure that Helgi suffers for what he has done. And we will ensure that he knows pain before his end. We know what must be done. We will execute him. And although we don't have the option to bring up the in-game thing for having a Blood Eagle, I do believe that that is what will be happening here. Now, I won't go into vivid detail of what the Blood Eagle entails, because it is quite gruesome. If you are curious, you can look that up yourself. But for those of you who know what the Blood Eagle entails and what that means for Helgi, I think that we can all agree that even though it is a cruel way to die for a man who did what Helgi did to us, to our father, I think that this is fitting. So that is what we shall do. That is the end of Rurik's line. Rurik himself dead at our hands in the Great Bloat. And yet, was he really our enemy? In some sense, he was tricked just as much as we were by Helgi, the true enemy all along. Well, he has faced his punishment now. And that, in some ways, truly is the end of Styrkar's vengeance. But that is not the end of the story for Clan Stjarna. There is much more of this story to be told, and we will continue this story in the next episode. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know what you think of the little twist that we had there. Did you see that coming? Were you expecting it? What did you think of it? And what do you think should happen in the next episode? If you guys enjoyed the series, you should probably subscribe to the channel, because then you can watch more. But until the next time, I have been Stray. You have all been absolutely wonderful, and we will see you in the next episode.